All right, GM everyone. I know I said I'm not gonna be present this week, but hey, here I am. I got released on, I think, Thursday, maybe Wednesday. I'm not sure. But I managed to catch some trades on Thursday and Friday, feeling kinda good, so I thought, yeah, why not? Might as well trade a little bit. There's always space to make mistakes, right? And I definitely did some. Uh, at least one that I'm sure of. So I have one, two, three, four, five trades to go over here, and my overall results are minus 1.8, so I didn't really catch any wins. But that doesn't matter. Let's evaluate myself based on following rules and, just generally being a good trader. So let's jump into week 33 over here. Yeah, post-surgery, blah, blah. What do I write here? Still managed to trade 2 days. All right. So the instructions for this week were pretty clear. As always, my main goal is to not trade actually and to preserve capital. That's the mind shift that I'm trying to achieve. It's gonna take some time. We all have that that innate need to be in a trade to get those dopamine hits, right? But I have come to the realization that really I should only trade when the trades are absolutely perfect. And of course, that's what I'm trying to achieve. I'm still gonna make mistakes every now and then, but that's the journey of learning. That's normal. So check news first thing in the morning. Yes, I am gonna have a little bit of a refinement here because I did make a mistake with that, but we'll talk about that later. Spend more time curating the watch list. I'm doing that already. Do not trade stage one. Yeah, yeah. No inconsistent market. All of this is cool. All right. So let's just go into the trades, I guess. Actually, let me check last week just to see the recap. So last week, I was really happy with last week. Yeah, I didn't catch some of the wins because I wasn't trading, but that's just life, that happens. But besides that, I followed rules perfectly, so that was nice. The only mistake I made is that I didn't take one trade that I was supposed to take, and that's this one. So here, what I can see is that we have a confirmed reaccumulation, right, breaking higher after the stage 2, which is beautiful. There's a stage 1 over here, breakout on huge, huge momentum, and pull back into the rising 1020, and a very beautiful reaccumulation. Yeah, I definitely could have traded this, but I didn't. It ended up being a break even anyway, but ultimately I want to be taking all the trades that meet my rules, right? Yeah, my goal is to not trade, and I'm forced into trading when the rules are met. I simply don't have a choice. And I don't know exactly why I didn't take this one. Don't remember anymore. But yeah, I'm gonna try to really take those trades that I'm supposed to. So this week, all week off due to surgery. Yeah, uh, I got back. It's all about the recovery and emotional well-being and focusing on the stuff that I can do rather than the stuff that I cannot do. Yeah, that's just general advice overall into my life. But yeah, let's get into the trades. So most of the trades are JER30, right? Four trades of JER30 in the same day. So I was following this market quite a bit. So what do we have here? We have an ongoing stage 2 over here, pretty nice trend, and then it breaks down for reaccumulation, right? So here I already could see a stage 1, and I was expecting it to break higher and maybe follow it. But as it lost this level, yes, I still assume reaccumulation, but I also assume stage 1 at this point, and I actually need to see quite a bit more to start following it. I need to basically, since it's already a stage 1, I need to see a resistance formed with multiple touch points and a break out of there. You can see that I already checked here, but I actually wasn't really following. I was just interested to see how the market interacts with this level over here, with this. And eventually, we can see it start chopping, right? Nothing too interesting. And then eventually it breaks out on big, big momentum. And that's when I decided to start following. So here on the 1 minute, we can see big stage 2. We can even see that on the 10 second. I would say this stage 2 was really nice, really, really nice. And here it starts chopping a little bit towards the top, but that's completely normal. That's not a big deal. This stage 2 definitely qualifies me to continue trading this. And here it pulls back, loses its momentum cycle in a really nice, consistent way. And we have ourselves a nice MB1 here somewhere. I guess I can literally just mark this up. What's going on here? Okay, I can mark this up. That would be MB1, and this is MB2. Very symmetrical. What I can also do is I can simply say, hey, this is a stage 1 breakout, and simply evaluate whether the MB2 is nice enough, which it is. And this was, in my opinion, an absolutely perfect trade, and it taps me in. Let's see how I managed. Actually, so let's go to, so yeah, it's on Thursday. I didn't write any reflection. That's unfortunate. But yeah, this is the first trade. So let's check it out. We broke above the high time frame supply and moving with momentum. I like it. Okay. So I reduce risk as we break above this high. That's enough signs of strength for me to reduce my risk. And at this point, like normally I wait for a fractal structure and whatnot, but at this point it's already so far that I reduce risk completely. And this just doesn't have enough juice, unfortunately, and it comes back for a beautiful break even. So I really like this trade. This was perfect in my opinion. So let's start marking it up or labeling it. So this is a stage 1 breakout. And it's on good momentum. Okay. This is, well, it's also a stage 1 breakout on good momentum. I guess I can do this. Yep. Here we just have good momentum. And here we have a perfect entry, in my opinion. Perfect entry. And that makes this trade overall perfect. Very happy with it. So let me label all of this up. All is yellow. Actually, was it a 1 minute entry or a 10-second? It was a 10-second. All right. Management was perfect as well. So overall, this was a perfect trade. Beautiful. Okay, moving on. This is a trade I didn't take. Okay, why not? So MB2 was a bit questionable here, but perhaps it's not too bad. Okay, well, let's go take a look then. Oh my god, what am I doing here? I need my Miro. There we go. So this is still JER30. So let's take a look what happened. I zoomed in quite a bit here. So let me just make sense of this. Okay, so I removed this supply zone, unfortunately, so I can't quite orient myself in the market, but it's fine. So here we broke out, right? That was where the initial trade was taken, and then we break down. And where do we break down? To the demand zone from which this break of structure came. And here we create a stage 1, which is exactly what I want to see, and a breakout out of there with big momentum. So we can see that on the 1 minute as well. I mean, beautiful stage 1 over here, breakout with strong momentum and a pullback into the rising 1020. Here on the 10-second, this stage 2 is beautiful, very strong, very impulsive. That's good. And it breaks down for a reaccumulation. I would say this is perfectly fine reaccumulation, and here it starts going sideways, creating a stage 1. And here it breaks out. And I'm saying that this MB2 is not as nice. And yeah, I see that. I see that. So basically what my entry has pretty much evolved in these days is either, so I usually have a stage 2, right? And then it breaks down, and then a couple of things can happen. Usually either I want to see something like this, where I have a very clean DMB, like that, or I like to see something like this, where it goes sideways and creates a stage 1, and then from there I trade the first MMB, right? This is completely fine as well. And this would be the case of the second. However, the MMB, by its name, Momentum MB, should really have certain characteristics of momentum. And one of those characteristics is that it should not take too long to form. It should go up, stay here for a tiny little while, and tap me in. This went sideways for way too long, and I did not like that. One thing that I do want to check out, maybe I should have shuffled the time frames and just see what this would look like on, say, the 15 second or 30 second, because maybe it was okay. I'm not completely sure. So I'm actually going to do that. So this is August 14 at like 16 o'clock. So let's do that. Let's go to TradingView real quick. Should have launched this before. I didn't expect I'm gonna use TradingView in this video, but it's fine. So J30, and we're gonna go to replay mode, select date, August 14 at like 16 o'clock. Yeah, that's what I want. And here we are. Okay. So here I am on the 10 second. Cool. Now I can select this bar, and this is probably where I get tapped in. Yeah, so let's go to the 15 second and just see what this looks like. Okay, let's try 30 second. Actually, this is not bad. This is not bad at all. Here is the 1 minute. All right. Yeah, this was decent. This was okay. I understand why I didn't take it, because it was taking a little bit too long. But then again, when I go and I try to mark up the MBs, so I would have to mark up this entire thing as an MB, and then I would mark this up as an MMB, I mean as MB2. This is still proportional. This is nice. I guess I could have taken this trade, but I'm not mad at myself for not taking it. Like, I'm still kind of new to this whole process of shuffling the time frames. It's a very useful process, and I like it more and more, and I'm implementing it more into my system. But yeah, I just need a bit more experience and repetition with it to do it every time, all the time. And also, since this is 10-second entry, right, I need to make a decision quick. So yeah, I'm fine with not taking this trade, but looking at it in retrospect, I think it was fine. So anyway, what happens here, let's go back to Notion. What happens is after it loses its momentum cycle, that's when I set my TP to 0. I want to get out of this because it's not doing what I want it to do, and I get a break even. Cool. So overall, I think this trade was good. So let's label it up. So here we have good momentum. Okay, here we have, whoa. Here we have, what do we have? State 1, well, State 1 breakout. I don't know. This is just good momentum as well. It's a deeper pullback, but it's a pullback into the demand zone. That's fine. And now here on the 1 minute, this is where it's important. This is a State 1 breakout. And it's on good momentum. And this entry, I think it's good. I'm not going to call it perfect. I'm going to call it good. So overall, this trade was good. Good. Okay. Let's label that up. Yeah, I want to say here, the reason why this is good is because it's a questionable entry. So overall, it's good and not perfect because it's a questionable entry. And why I didn't take this, I didn't take it because it looked weird at that point. That's okay. So looking at this in retrospect, it actually looks quite okay, especially after shuffling the time frames a bit. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm very simply going to involve the 30 seconds here, and I'm gonna put a screenshot there. Okay, there we go. So the decision, I'm actually going to redo this. The decision thing is not working as intended. Okay, so moving on, we got another trade under 30. So let's take a look. So All right, let's use the 1 minute to orient ourselves. So the initial entry, like the previous one, was over here, and now we started moving higher. We broke into a new range, and it looks like we pulled back. Yeah. So as we broke into this new range, this is the stage two I'm gonna analyze. Beautiful stage two, absolutely beautiful. I like it a lot. So now, as this reaccumulates, I'm totally fine to take a DMB entry. And here, let me mark up the MBs. I would say, mm-hmm, let's just, well, let's just use the whole thing, I guess. Jesus. Okay, so let's use this and this. Okay, and MB2 would be this one. Why is it not working the way I want it to? Hello? Can I please? All right. So yeah, this looks okay. Two candles. It looks like a fairly nice pullback. Yeah, this is a very nice entry, in my opinion. I like it a lot. So let's take a look if I have any comments here. Rules is rules. I gotta take it, yes, sir. And I reduce risk over here. This looks like more than enough sign of strength to go above my entry. I like it. And as it creates this, well, there's an argument to be made that there's already fractal structure before that, but I just wanted to see a tiny bit more, and as it liquidates this point, I'm going risk-free. And it goes a little bit higher, but there's not enough juice, and it comes back to break even. All right, I think this is also very much a perfect trade. So good momentum over here, uh, good momentum over here, good momentum over here. These are no longer just stage one breakouts. These are all just good momentum. And I would say this is a perfect entry. So overall, this trade deserves a perfect. Nice. Management was perfect too. So overall, perfect trade. Good. Okay. And last one, another J30 trade. So let's again use the 1 minute to orient ourselves. So what do we have? I think initially, whoa, hello? Okay. I think initially, so I guess it was this entry? No. Let me just see if that's the entry. Yeah. So this was the entry before, and this is the next one. So here there is a breakout into a new range. So I'm analyzing this stage two over here. I would say that's a very strong stage two. I like it a lot. But here it pulls back and then it starts going sideways quite a bit. Uh, Almost so much that I would call this a stage one at this point. But let me see how this looks on the 1 minute. Okay, this is quite impulsive. This is quite impulsive. Eh, I don't know. Something about it, not the best. Here on the 6 minutes, we're still looking good. I mean, our target is of course over here. Still moving in the momentum cycle overall. This is looking okay. It's looking all right. Oh, I see. All right, so here we pulled back, right? We didn't really liquidate any low or whatnot, but as we liquidated this, it's clear as day that it's reaccumulation. And here we create a DMB. So this is MB1 and this is MB2. That's very proportional. The MB1 validation is beautiful. I actually think it's fine. I think it's fine. I just needed to reassure myself a tiny little bit. But yeah, I think this is okay. Mm, yeah, I think it's fine. So let's label that up. So this is good momentum, good momentum, good momentum. Let's copy paste the whole thing. Boom. All right. And this entry, yeah, it's good. Perfect entry. There's something about it that I don't know. I don't like. I'm gonna call it good. I'm not gonna call it perfect. I don't, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Like, what is it? something tells me that this pullback is a little bit too long and I should see it as a stage one, and therefore I should only follow it after it breaks out from a resistance point. But at the same time, this still looks like a perfectly fine reaccumulation. I don't know. I'll check it a bit more later, but nonetheless, it's definitely a good entry. So, call it good. And how did I manage this? So, I reduce risk right over here. Yep, more than enough strength into my entry. And here it pulls back. Yeah, so this would have probably tapped me out if I didn't reduce risk twice. GER30 has a bit more of a spread compared to, say, EU or some forex pairs on MentFX. It has like 100 tick spread or something. So I reduce risk twice, first to the orange line and then to the actual entry. And here it actually saved me some spread commissions or whatnot. And as it breaks higher, creating this fractal structure, that's where I reduce risk the second time. And yep, it immediately comes back to a break even. And actually, if I remember correctly, this, let me just go forward here. Yeah, this actually continues quite a bit higher afterwards. So where are we on the 6 minute? We are over here. Yeah, this ends up going quite a bit higher and it liquidates me like just before the entry itself. If I go somewhere, let's say over here, you might see it on the 1 minute. So yeah, I think I'm getting involved somewhere over here, right? 1 minute. There's a little bit of a valley. Yeah, I'm getting involved right over here and it liquidates me here and it goes much, much higher and I just miss the +5. It liquidates me before it goes, but that's fine. I think I followed my rules really, really well here. So yeah, let's label that up. Good context, good momentum, and a little bit questionable entry. But management was perfect, so overall I'm gonna give it a good. Nice. All right, so that's Thursday. I'm just gonna write here the only followed GER30. Nothing else looked good. And executed well. All right, and in comes Friday, and on Friday everything looks kind of looked trash if I remember correctly. But then at one point EU became somewhat interesting. So let's take a look what's happening over here. So EU ongoing uptrend here, it reaccumulates, right? I assume all of this is reaccumulation, then creates this stage one and breaks into a new high and then reaccumulates again. Quite a deep pullback, comes back to probably like this demand zone or something, still above, still an overall bullish and delivering market. But here, what do I see? So the waves are something like this, right? And then it breaks down like this. So I definitely want to see a break above this level for me to even start following. So here on the 6 minute, all of this I ignore. It's choppy, ugly anyway. Doesn't really matter. But here it creates these two stage ones. It creates like a stage one over here and then another stage one over here, which we would be able to see here if I marked it up. And here it's all around this level, right? So what I'm expecting or what I want to rule out is redistribution. So I'm looking how price interacts with this level, and what I want to see is a strong push through, especially after it already liquidates. So here I started following a little bit, but this ended up just being a wick, and given the reaction that it just dumped, it confirmed my thesis that this is most likely just redistribution because of the sells coming in. But the sells did not take the market much lower. Instead, it started going sideways and then eventually broke out. So at this point, I think, okay, if this pulls back in a healthy way, I'm willing to follow it. So here we are on the 10-second, right? We break out. This stage two is amazing. I really like it. I like it a lot. And here, what happens? So we create this. This low gets liquidated, so that makes it a reaccumulation, comes back into this demand zone or whatever, and from here it creates a beautiful impulsive DMB. So if I mark up the MBs, I would say this is one MB and this is the second MB. So these are like very, very similar in size. Maybe MB2 is a little bit bigger than MB1. Let's just mark up this entire thing. Nah, they're similar. They're similar. This is good. This is okay. Like, I remember the one thing that I thought I don't like too much. Let me actually see any comment. This was taken before news. Ah, yeah. That's the mistake. Yeah, also the React looks not the best. Not sure if lows were getting leaked here. Yeah, so what I mean here is, I even checked this on like the 5 second and 1 second. Pretty much it just went straight up here. So what I would ideally have wanted to see is this point liquidated. But at the same time, uh, it did liquidate some lows on the inside. So I thought this does actually qualify as a reaccumulation, and I was willing to take this trade. So overall, probably not the worst. Maybe I can see it on here. Let me just check. Your USD. Do I still have that trade marked up? It would be somewhere over here. Let's go here. Uh, so where is this? Is that the trade? What the hell? Is that the trade? When is this taken? August 15 at 15:53. Okay, so actually quite a bit later. Okay, so somewhere over here, huh? Yes, somewhere over here. Cool. So let me see this trade real quick. So 10 second. It should be here. Ah, yeah, this is where I get tapped in, right? Yeah, yeah. So let's go back here. So what if this was a 5 second? Let me just see how that would look like. Okay. Okay, so the lows were getting liquidated from here already. Lows licked, and here I'm arguing this is the DMB. I don't know, something tells me that it's not the best. But again, I can't quite put my finger on it. Anyway, there was a big mistake anyway. I was not supposed to take this trade for the simple reason that it was taken right before news. And this is actually what I wanted to touch on the most here, and something that I need to write down in what went bad. So let's do this whole thing. Traded just before news. So what I need to do here is, I did check news in the morning, which is the right thing to do, and I knew there is red news. But then I set up my alerts, right? And the moment the alert went off on EU, I started following, and I got my entry, right? I think I set the alert above this level over here, and that's when I got my alert. And I was like, oh, okay, this stage 2 looking nice. Maybe I can get an entry, right? And I do get an entry literally like just a moment after. Like, okay, so the alarm takes off somewhere over here, and I get an entry after 3 minutes. It's very, very quick. And what I actually need to do is, I need to check the time and whether we are close to red news. I know this sounds obvious as fuck, but it's something that's very, very easy to forget. So I already thought about like a couple of ways I can ensure that I don't make this mistake in the future. And I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do here in the instructions for the week, in my morning routine where I check news first thing in the morning, I'm also going to create alerts 15 minutes ahead of news events. So usually within 15 minutes, I get a win or loss anyway. Maybe I can make it 30. Doesn't really matter too much. What's important is that I'm aware ahead of time, and I don't actually take trades during this period. And maybe I will still take a trade, right? If it happens 30 minutes ahead, it's fine. I have enough time till the news. But I need to be reminded so that I know that the news event is coming up. If I had known, I would not have taken this trade, and I would actually get a really nice trade afterwards. I can show you. So the news drops at 16:00, right? We're at 15:59, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And this is where news drops. Okay. And here, my correct entry would actually be this one, because here I would get my stage 2, the pullback, and a DMB. So this would be my correct entry, which I didn't take, of course. Let's just see how that would have played out. 36, 180. So, yep. This, okay, that's not the actual entry. One sec. Where is the actual entry? So, boop, 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 boop. Nope. Nope. Oh, was it this one right here? Oh, it was this one right here. Never mind. My bad. This was the entry. This is the entry that I would have taken, and that would end up being a break even. Either way, point is, I would not have taken this trade if I had known that the news is coming up. I just wouldn't, because 7 minutes is not enough time for me to get to TP. It's a very, very risky, and I wouldn't have. So I could have definitely skipped this -1. Uh, let's just see how this played out. So yeah, I get tapped in and instantly fucked up. So this was 100% avoidable. This was 100% avoidable because I should not have traded you to news. All right, and this is a huge mistake. I cannot do this on a live account ever because I'm really, really risking getting completely liquidated. And that would suck. Like, losing a funded challenge because of such a stupid mistake would hurt a lot. And I guess until now, I wasn't taking it too seriously because I'm still on forward test and there is no punishment. But I need to get this dialed in before I actually, start trading live. So I think this new refinement is going to help me a lot. I'm going to make it part of my morning routine. I'm going to set up those alerts, and this should never ever happen to me again. But anyway, did I actually analyze the trade itself? I'm not sure. Yes, I did. I did. Okay. The trade itself was not necessarily bad. I actually like the trade itself, but the mistake was the news. So here we have good momentum. Here we have, holy crap. Here we have, what do we have here? I mean, it's a stage 1 breakout kind of. Holy shit. Sorry about that. Stage 1 breakout on good momentum. Here we have the same. I'm just going to copy both of it. And here we have a good entry. Okay. So let me label that up here as well. I'm going to say questionable entry because there's something that is a little bit off that I don't like too much, but it's still more than decent enough. So overall the trade was good, but it was a mistake due to news. So let's close as well. All right. Traded before news. Very bad boy. Okay. And that sums it up. So let's go over what went well. Except for this one trade where I made a news-related mistake, I overall like how I performed. I think I followed momentum well, I managed perfectly again, and I followed the rules perfectly. This stays the same. So regarding performance and rule following, I'm very happy with what I did. That was perfect. What went bad was that I tried it just before news, and that's a huge, huge mistake. So the new refinement here is create alerts before news as part of the morning routine. Okay. The overall results, let's check the results. So we have weekly analysis here. It's week 33. Okay, so minus 1.8. And had I traded perfectly, boom, it would be minus 0.6. Because I would not have taken that one loss. But I would have taken, maybe, I would have taken that BE afterwards. I don't know. I pretty much ended my session afterwards, so maybe it would be minus 0.8. Either way, that's a very small number, and this week I pretty much just managed to protect my downside. Had I traded in the correct days in these previous 2 weeks, I would have gathered so much profit, and this would just be a sideways week, right? Instead, I'm having 3 sideways weeks in a row. That's very unfortunate, but that's just the game we play. This happens, nothing I can do about that. So what I'm also gonna do is copy this stuff. Oop. What went well is this. What went bad is this. And this I will fill in later. Okay, I think that is all. I did make this new change. Good. And one last thing I can do is just go over my C's and V's and everything and see where I traded. This makes total sense. This makes sense. This also. Momentum in the market, momentum cycles looking good. Here I waited for quite some time. I was very patient trading 0.30 and I traded at the right moment. I like that. Here, stage 1 breakout looking good. Here, deeper pullback, stage 1 creation and breakout on good momentum. That's fine. This is continuation of that trade, looking very good. Here, yeah, this is a little bit choppy, but all of this over here is reaccumulation. So as it breaks into new highs, I'm totally valid to follow that. Here, good momentum cycle, looking good. Momentum cycle. First pullback after stage 1 breakout, that's good. Here, yep, this is strong momentum cycle that just broke down, and here are the entries. This DMB is very nice. This DMB was a little bit questionable, and I'm not mad at myself for not taking it. It's fine. This DMB was nice. This DMB was very nice. This DMB was nice as well. So yeah, overall, I'm happy with how I traded. So what to focus on next week? I guess what I can do is copy this one again. Okay, and most importantly, I'm going to add create news alerts. Okay, that's going to be week 34. Boop. There we go. Okay, that's all for this week. So if any of this sparks any thoughts in you, shoot me a DM, let me know. I always love to chat about trading. And I wish you a nice weekend, and I'll see you guys next week in the markets. Okay, see ya.